give it over to the presenters to start the session. During the session, you can post your questions in the Q&A section. Also, during the session, keep an eye on the polling pane because during the session there will be some polls that will be running. So with that said, please take it over.
Thank you, Puneet. Very good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining. This is the agenda for today's session. Here we are covering the ROS lifecycle, ROS upgrade paths, and there will be a Q&A session at the last. You can put your questions in the Q&A session and we'll try to answer them at the last. Komesh, next slide, please. Thank you. This table shows the versions and their associated dates for the EOL. As you all aware that ROS 13 is now end of maintenance support and the latest long life release is now 16.1. Red Hat provides a product lifecycle for Red Hat OpenStack platform in order for customers and partners to effectively plan, deploy, and support their infrastructure. These links will give you more information about the ROS and Red Hat Safe Storage lifecycles. The term end of life refers to the time at which a developer stops delivering updates and patches for a product. Here ELS stands for extended lifecycle support, but there are certain drawbacks to being on ELS for a longer period of time, such as not receiving new ROS features. As a result, we strongly advise all customers to upgrade to the most recent long life release as soon as possible. Next slide, please. Red Hat OpenStack platform lifecycle. ROS 13 comes with 3 years of production support with the option to purchase an ELS for the 4th and 5th year. Similarly, ROS 16 now includes 4 years of production support as well as an opportunity to add an additional year of extended lifecycle support. ROS 13 and 16 are long life releases, whereas 14 and 15 are interim releases. After say every 80 months, a release will be published as being long life. Long life release will have a support life cycle of 3 years. Standard, that is not long life release, will have a support life cycle of 1 year. For example, ROS 14 and 15 have a support life cycle of 1 year, whereas ROS 16.1 have a support life cycle of 3 years. ROS 13 is based on Queen, whereas ROS 16.1 is based on Trend with Usuri backports. Next slide, please, Puneet. This is very important slide that will shows the difference between the two upgrades, that is ROS 10 to ROS 13 and ROS 13 to ROS 16.1. The first point, the same base OS will be used from ROS 10 to 13, hence there is no need to change the base OS. However, both environments run with different base OS in ROS 13 to ROS 16.1. ROS 13 is compatible with Rails 7.x, while ROS 16.1 is compatible with Rails 8.2. We will update the base OS from Rails 7.x to Rails 8.2 via leap. In the next slides, you will learn about the leap process. The next point is all the OpenStack services were managed by systemd in ROS 10. But the systemd services were moved to Docker in ROS 13. The services are moved from Docker to Podman in ROS 16. For container management in 16, we use Podman. Both undercloud and overcloud are now containerized in 16.1. To upgrade from ROS 10 to 13, we use fast forward commands like OpenStack overcloud ffwd upgrade. The director writes a set of Ansible playbooks based on the new OpenStack platform 13 plan and deploy them throughout the overcloud. And in 13 to 16.1, normal commands such as OpenStack overcloud upgrade are used to invoke Ansible playbooks and their associated tasks at various phases of the upgrade. Okay. The next point is before conducting an update, the overcloud images.yaml file is used to pull container images in 10 to 13. And in version 13 to 16, the undercloud uses a new approach to pull and store container images. The undercloud pulls all relevant container images during the deployment process rather than pulling them before deploying the overcloud. The next point is regarding the controllers update. Here controllers get upgraded simultaneously, and in ROS 13 to 16, one controller will upgrade at a time to reduce the API downtime. Starting with the Bootstrap node. Later in the presentation, you will learn how to identify the Bootstrap node. Next one is compute nodes can be upgraded per role using -- role option. For example, if you have 10 compute nodes, you won't be able to upgrade them in batches. Instead, you will have to upgrade them all at once. Here, in 13 to 16, we can upgrade the nodes in batches. For example, if you have 40 compute nodes, you can generate 4 batches, each with 10 compute nodes. We recommend that you move your important virtual machines to another compute node before updating. And there will be no live migration possible until the upgrade is completed. This regards to 10 to 13 upgrade. However, we can migrate workloads from non-upgraded to upgraded. This is possible because of the Nova hybrid state tag, which you will use in the OpenStack overcloud upgrade run command. On upgraded compute nodes, this will enable a temporary ROS 16.1 containers. While upgrading the computes, live migration helps to keep the downtime to a minimum. And these are the safe versions associated with each OpenStack versions. Next slide, please. OpenStack upgrades. Red Hat provides 2 options for upgrading your environment to the next long life release. First one is in-place upgrade, and the second one is parallel migration. In-place upgrade, you will be upgrading the services on your existing environment. And this presentation mainly focuses on this option. And the second one is parallel migration, means create a new ROS 16.1 environment and then migrate your workload from old environment to new environment. We'll request you to please contact Red Hat Professional Services for further information about the Red Hat OpenStack platform parallel migration. Next slide, please. Okay, prerequisites for in-place upgrade. Before you conduct an in-place upgrade of your OpenStack platform environment, create a plan for the upgrade and accommodate any potential obstacles that might block a successful upgrade. Upgrade checker. Thank you, Kumesh. This application is designed to help you to prepare Red Hat OpenStack platform upgrades. Here, select your current ROS version. Here, we are upgrading our environment from 13 to 16.1, so we will select 13. Save, this is optional. If you are not using save, then you can uncheck this option. Check it if you are using save and check fast forward upgrades. Here, you will find official documentation for ROS upgrade. These are some validations listed here that you need to run and check before the upgrade. Check your templates according to ROS 16.1. Before stack update, validate your heat templates and environment files for any errors. These are some common issues encountered when performing an upgrade. we have documented solutions for known issues which you may face with respect to your environment. Here you can run some validations on the upgraded versions. Make sure you are familiar with ROS 16.1 environment before proceeding with the upgrade, because there are certain modifications in ROS 13 context. As a result, we recommend that you initially install ROS 16.1 in a test environment to familiarize yourself. Make sure you are using the most recent version of ROS 13, that is Z16, as you won't be able to upgrade from 13 to 13.0.10 to 16.1 directly. You must update your current environment to the most recent RJOSP 13 release. Make a backup of your environment. The REAR tool can be used to back up both undercloud and overcloud control planes. Here, REAR stands for Relax and Recover. It builds a bootable image that includes the most recent state of an undercloud as well as a control plane node. Next slide, please. There are a few things you need to keep in mind in this step. Do not make any changes in undercloud and overcloud other than the upgrade. Take the DB backup after the leap upgrade. We will see the undercloud upgrade process in more detail in the next slide. Next slide, please. Undercloud upgrade process. This is very important slide for the undercloud upgrade. You must upgrade the undercloud operating system from RHEL 7 to RHEL 8.2 before upgrading director. You need to delete ROS 13 packages before running the leap program to upgrade the system packages as a part of this operating system upgrade. The undercloud database is unaffected by the package removal and the operating system upgrade. On the undercloud, disable the core OpenStack services. Remove the OpenStack packages from the undercloud, except Open vSwitch and certain Python packages that are required for the upgrade. To upgrade the operating system to RHEL 8, install and run libtool. You can install this utility using install lib. Install and run the lib utility to upgrade the operating system to RHEL 8. You can install this utility using install lib. Okay. Actually, you need to follow some steps before jumping into the lib upgrade. Like you need to use predictable nicknames for the undercloud node. You can find the Ansible playbook in the upgrade doc that will help you to automate those changes, so you don't have to manually change the nicknames. And the other point is you need to manually edit the value to yes or no for permit root login as per your use case in the SSHD configuration file. If you don't make these changes, then you may see the inhibitors in the leap upgrade process. Run the leap pre-upgrade using leap pre-upgrade and check whether there is any inhibitor. Solve the inhibitors and rerun the leap upgrade. You will see more info about the leap report at location var log leap report.txt, and reboot to finish the leap process. After you complete the undercloud operating system upgrade, now it's time to upgrade director. The database from previous ROS 13 undercloud remains on host after the operating system upgrade. Install the new ROS 16.1 packages like Python 3 OOO client and Safe Ansible, and configure the new source for ROS 16.1 container images before you run the OpenStack undercloud upgrade command. The OpenStack services, as you may know, are containerized. Create an environment file to specify where and how container images should be obtained and stored. Here, I am referring to the container prepare parameter.yaml. Thank you for opening the terminal. This is my lab environment where I have below parameters set in containers prepare parameter.yaml file. Namespace. The namespace for each OpenStack service image. Name prefix OpenStack. A prefix for each OpenStack service image. Tag. Set a specific tag for all images from the source. If not defined, director uses the Red Hat OpenStack platform version number as the default value. This parameter takes a precedence over the tag from label value. The registry redhat.io requires authentication to access and pull images. To authenticate with registry and other private registry, include the container image registry credentials parameter. In the example, replace username and password with your authentication credential. You can continue using the original undercloud.conf file from your ROS 13 environment, but you must modify the file to retain the compatibility with ROS 16.1. Add the parameter container images file to the default section. This parameter defines the location of the container prepare parameter.yaml environment file so that the director pulls container images from the undercloud. And this is the path that we need to mention in the undercloud.conf file. And finally run the command openstack undercloud upgrade to upgrade the director. This command launches the director configuration script. The director upgrades its packages and configures its services to suit the setting in the undercloud.conf file. This script also starts all OpenStack platform services container on the undercloud automatically. And this script takes several minutes to complete. Now I am giving the control to my colleague Homesh. Homesh, you can take it from here.
Hey, thanks, Parag. So, good afternoon, everyone. So now we will look at the upgrade process for overcloud. Okay, so basically we will start with preparing the overcloud nodes for the Leap upgrade. So for Leap, we basically need to make sure of two main things. First is we are not using the kernel nicknaming. Instead of that, we need to use a predictable nickname. So in our official doc, we have like provided an Ansible playbook that will help you perform this activity on all the overclouds node at a time. Okay. Then we also need to make sure we have the permit root login set in the SSD configuration. Otherwise, Leap might fail with an any better. The next thing is to modify the environment file according to OSP 16. So this particular section like very much depends on like what kind of templates you have used during the OpenStack 13 deployments. Okay, but I will be touch basing on few of the environment files which are important and which are like very important for like the Leap upgrade. So the first one is the upgrade environment.yaml file. So this file is used to define all the Leap related parameters in the templates. Okay, so if you want to like modify, if you want to add some particular command which you want to run before Leap, so you need to define all that Leap related stuff in the upgrade environment file. Okay, we have some other parameters, Leap parameters, which you can use depending on your requirements. So the important thing we have is leap debug. If you want to perform a debug of entire leap process. Then we also have some upgrade leap to install parameters and leap to remove if you want to install or remove some packages like during the upgrade. So after this file, we have one more environment file, which is the container prepare file. I'll just share my terminal and I will just give you a brief. So this is the container prepare file. This is similar to what Parag has shown. But for overcloud, we just need to make sure that we add this transitional containers, which we see here. So these transitional containers are required for updating the database to latest OpenStack 16. Basically, the database cannot be directly migrated from 13 to 16. It has to go from 13 to 15 and then 15 to 16. So therefore, we need this transitional OpenStack 15 containers just for database upgrade. And other than that, most of the thing in the container prepare remains the same. Then we will look at the RHSM file, which is the next important file because during the upgrade, we want to make sure that the proper repositories are enabled during this. So in this, templates they are very specific to an OVS DPDK SRIV use case. So here, if you can see, I have like two roles, one for controller and one is for compute OVS DPDK. So I have like required repos define the registration details, okay, the pool ID and like what is the RHEL version I need to log the system to. Okay, since OpenStack 16 is only supported on 8.2 release of RHEL, so we need to make sure we have that release set in the RHSM file. Then we will look at the important file, that is the roles file. So there are a lot of services which are like added and deprecated. So I would recommend not to do any drastic changes in the role file when it comes to like if we have defined any deprecated parameters or something like that. But when it comes to services, right, we need to remove all the deprecated service. So this particular role file role section is for compute DPDK. So these are the new services which are introduced in OSP 16. So we need to add this new services and remove all the old deprecated services. Otherwise, there is chance that the deployment, the upgrade might fail. Same things with controller as well. So there are some new services introduced for controller specific role, and like a lot of them will be removed. So most of the telemetry, okay, NOAA placement, RabbitMQ, they are gone. So for NOAA placement, the service name has just changed. For RabbitMQ, the same thing. But yeah, we need to remove this and we need to add this new services like placement API, Bootstrap, and CollectD and all that other stuff. So if you look at the upgrade doc, we have like very detailed information about for each service, what all services are like deprecated, okay, and what all services are like newly added, okay. This for like most of the common used role like controller, compute, and if you have like Ceph, and this for like general, if you have like some other roles, you need to make sure we remove this and add this particular new services. Then we will look at the NIC configuration file, network environment file. So this is in my case, like I like try to keep all the network IP related stuff in the network environment file. So we have like a general definition of NIC config files for each role, for compute role and the controller role. Then I have only one network, that is control plane network. So I have defined like all the things regarding the control plane IP ranges here. Then the DNS server, the bond information, the NTP. Okay, so all the parameters which are changed, okay, we need to update it to OSP 16. So in my case, I also have one more environment file, which is dpdk sriv. So this file contain all the NFVI parameters, SRIV dpdk related parameters. Okay, like what should be the bridge mapping, the kernel args, and most of the things. So there are not much of a changes if we see here. There is a change in the CPU set. Okay, so we have this new parameters called NOA compute CPU set. Earlier we used to have like NOA vCPU pin set, but that parameter has been deprecated and these two new parameters are added. Okay. Other than that, we have this neutron SRIV num VF. So earlier we used to define the number of VF in this parameter, but now we have the different way of defining it. I'll just explain you how to do it in the next file. Okay. If you are having an SRIV use case, it is recommended to use in pass-through filter, use the vendor ID or product ID or the PCI device, okay, of the VFs rather than going for the dev name, because the device name might get changed during the leap upgrade and we might face some issues in creating the VMs after that. So then we will take a look at the NIC config changes. Okay, so we will look at the compute file. So in compute file, the important change which we need to look at is the OS netconfig script. Okay, we need to make sure that we are pointing out to the correct script. Okay, so before running the stack update or like running the prepare or moving ahead, okay, make sure that this script, like we are pointing out to the correct script. Okay, we need to make sure that all the interface naming which we are using, it should be according to the new like after the leap, like whatever the nickname should be. Okay, so we need to make sure that all the nicknames are correct. Okay, for SRIV, as I said earlier, the neutron SRIV num VF parameter has been deprecated. So it has been like this new parameter has been added, which is called SRIV PF. This is a new interface type which is added in OSP 16, and here we can define a num VF for that particular PF. Okay, so it gives us kind of more flexibility. Okay, and rather than like keeping all the network related information in different file, we can like keep it collated in a single file. So to modify this network script, we have a small bash script. I just show you. You can just simply run the bash script. So you just need to modify the overcloud stack name. You need to provide a correct role file here and the network data file. Okay, it will like find out what is the NIC config file used and it will modify the NIC config file for you. But still it is recommended like after using the script to just validate the NIC config once, otherwise it might cause a major issue during the upgrade. Once all the environment file are updated and modified to the OSP 16, we need to run the OpenStack overcloud upgrade prepare command. This command will basically create a plan, an overcloud plan according to OSP 16 templates. Okay, it won't perform any changes on overcloud yet, but we are just like preparing the heat stack for the upgrade. Okay, it will like take all the environment file, it will create all the Ansible playbooks which are required for upgrade. Once that is done, we will run the container prepare image command. Okay, for this we are running the external upgrade run command with the tag container image prepare. So this command will go through your overcloud plan. It will try to find out, okay, what all services you are using, like, and what all images are going to be required. Okay, and it is going to like pull all the images. It will also take the reference of the container prepare file which we have like modified earlier. Okay, and it will like basically pull all the images and store it on the undercloud node. So if like for future upgrades or for if we are running stack update multiple times, the overcloud node can directly get the images from undercloud rather than like going out and getting it from satellite or like Red Hat CDN multiple times. Okay. The next step is the controllers upgrade process. Okay. So for controllers upgrade process, we are going to upgrade them one at a time. Okay. So only for during the first controller upgrade, we will have a downtime, API downtime. Okay. But once the controller complete, the API and the downtime will be ended. Okay. So during the upgrade of the controller, all the services on that will be stopped. The pacemaker will be stopped, and the pacemaker cluster is basically recreated. During the activity, we need to disable the fencing. If you have instance HA or just a regular fencing, we need to disable that. During the controller upgrade, the VMs and the workload will be intact. They will still be up and should not cause any issues there. Okay. During the controller upgrade, we also trigger a NOAA hybrid state. Okay. As Parag has already described it, that we spawn up a 16.1 container, NOAA compute container on the compute nodes. It makes sure that we have like a version compatibility between NOAA so that we can migrate the VMs from one compute node to another. Okay. So this is one of the very good features which earlier in 10 to 13 upgrade we were missing, and yeah, we have added this time. So next we will look at in detail about the controller upgrade. So first we need to identify the bootstrap node. So for that you can run this Hira command and it will show you what is the bootstrap node. Usually it is controller 0. Okay. If you have a director deployed Ceph and if you are having some Ceph related service running on the controller, in that case you need to run this external upgrade command with Ceph_systemd tag. So this command will basically modify the Ceph systemd service file, and instead of using Docker, it will make sure we use Podman services, because after upgrading to 8.2 we'll be having Podman instead of Docker. Once it is done, we need to run the overcloud upgrade with system_upgrade tag. So this tag basically focus on performing the leap. It will perform all the leap related operations like leap pre-upgrade, leap upgrade, and leap reboot. Okay. Once this command executed and like finishes, the node will come back as rel 8.2. Okay. Once that is done, we can move to the next step, which is a data transfer step. This particular step we need to perform only once for the first bootstrap controller. So this command will basically stop the pacemaker running on other two controllers, and it will also sync the MySQL database from other two controllers to the bootstrap node, so that we can recreate the cluster from the bootstrap node again, and we will have the same database. Okay, so no data will be lost. Okay. After that, we need to run the upgrade run command with NOAA hybrid state tag. So this command will initiate the NOAA. It will push NOAA in a hybrid state. Okay, it will spin up 16.1 container. Okay, along with NOAA, it will also like put ISCSI in a hybrid state. We will spin up latest like 16.1 ISCSI container on it. Okay. If you are using SRIV, in that case, Neutron SRIV agent will be also like spinning up like 16.1 container for the compute nodes. Okay. This step we also need to execute just once during the bootstrap node. Okay. Once it is done, okay, we need to run the upgrade of the like controller 0. We will just run the upgrade run command without any tag. It will like start all the containers. Okay, it will like recreate the pacemaker and bring the like upgrade the controllers. Okay, so during the data transfer step, the downtime API downtime will start, because it will stop the pacemaker running on other two controllers as well. Okay, and it will like come back after this upgrade run command is completed. Okay, so so once this command is done, okay, we can like consider that there should not be any API downtime, but the cluster will only run on one controller at this stage. So next we will look at how to proceed with the remaining two controllers. Okay, so we will follow basically the same step. First one is to upgrade the run the upgrade for Ceph systemd. So we can just convert the Ceph systemd file to use Podman, and then we will again run the system upgrade tag for leap upgrade. So in this case, we don't need to run data transfer and hybrid state command. We only need to run it once. And the next thing is we need to run the upgrade so that OSP 16 services can be like redeployed on it. So we need to make sure one thing, that we need like during this command, we also need to provide the upgraded controllers. Okay. So right now here we are upgrading controller 1, but during this upgrade run command without tag, we are also providing controller 0. Okay. It will inform like Ansible that, okay, both this controller need to go in a same pacemaker cluster. Okay. Otherwise we might end up having two pacemaker cluster on each node. Okay. That is not good. So we need to provide like both the controllers. Okay. Later we need to perform similar step for controller 3, where we will be like performing the systemd upgrade and the same upgrade. And during that upgrade command, we will need to provide controller 0, 1 and controller 2. We are skipping that part and we will jump on the compute upgrade. So for compute upgrade, like so since there are like lot of workloads are running on it, we try to keep it like minimum, like perform the upgrade in batches. Okay. So as the number of how many compute nodes you can evacuate, you can perform the upgrade on that many compute nodes at a time. Okay. The compute node will be like the base OS will be upgraded from RHEL 7 to RHEL 8. So we are going to require a reboot. Okay. So it's recommended to like migrate and evacuate all the VMs before before initiating the upgrade. Okay. Since Nova is in hybrid state, you should not have any issues like migrating VMs from non-upgraded to upgraded or vice versa. So now we will take a look into a deeper look of what all steps we need to perform for compute upgrade. Okay. So first we'll be migrating the workload. Yeah, one more thing I want to add about the Nova hybrid state, that is there are limitations that we are yet not able to perform live migration in the Nova hybrid state for NFVI use case, mostly for DPDK. Okay, so for if you have like NFVI workload, okay, it is recommended to go with the cold migration rather than live. Okay, so once the workload are migrated, we need to run the upgrade run command with same system upgrade tag. It will perform the leap of the entire compute node, and then we need to follow the upgrade run without any tag, and it will like reinitiate all the OSP 16 services on the compute node. If you want to do like multiple compute nodes in parallel, you can just provide multiple compute nodes in hyphen limits like we did here for compute 1 and compute 2. Okay, we need to do the same for upgrade run as well. So next we will look at the converge step. So the converge step is run to synchronize the overcloud with OSP 16. Okay, so when we run the converge, okay, we have prepared the heat stack for the upgrade. Okay, but since we consider the upgrade is like almost finished, so we are like trying to move the heat stack and make sure it is aligned with OSP 16 parameters and variables and heat structure. Okay, we also make sure that heat stack is ready for future scale out and minor updates. Okay, so here we will like basically run the OpenStack Overcloud converge command, and with most of the same parameters environment file which we provided for the upgrade prepare. So after this, we will look at the upgrade for Ceph. So if you have like director deployed Ceph, like once the heat stack is synchronized, then we need to move for Ceph upgrade. If you have an external Ceph, in that case, you need to upgrade that Ceph cluster before starting the OpenStack upgrade. Okay, since here we are considering it's a director deployed Ceph, so what we need to do is we need to install Ceph Ansible package on the undercloud node. Once that is done, we need to run the overcloud external upgrade command with the tag Ceph. This command basically triggers a Ceph Ansible like playbooks, and it will upgrade the Ceph from like Ceph 3 to Ceph 4. We also in Ceph 4 we have like as a default like OSD scenario as BlueStore. So if you want to perform migration from FileStore to BlueStore, we also have an option to perform that via OpenStack commands. For that, we need to use Ceph fs to bs tag. Okay, we need to make sure like while performing this FileStore to BlueStore migration, we provide the Ceph Ansible limit to just one OSD node at a time. Because during this step, the OSDs are basically like destroyed and recreated with the BlueStore scenario. Okay, so and before destroying it, it will like migrate all the PGs to another OSD so that we can like maintain the minimum replica set for 3. Okay, and once the PGs are migrated, we will destroy it and basically recreate it. Okay, so we need to do it like for all the Ceph node one after another. Okay, once this is done, so we are almost done with the upgrade process. So these are the reference article. Okay, so first one is the upgrade standard upgrade doc. This doc is like very elaborate. It will like try to consider all the use cases which you have. Okay, then we have the upgrade health checker, which I think Parag has like very well explained. Okay, then we have undercloud and control plane backup and restore. Okay, so we are using rear for backing up the control plane and undercloud node. Okay, rear will basically take a file system backup of the entire node, so it will like leave us from the tedious job of like then restoring the all the database and services one by one. So we can like directly just reinstall it from the rear backup and we'll be back to the place where we take the backup. Then the last document is for OSP 13 minor upgrade. So it's a prerequisite that you need to make sure you are on the latest minor release of OSP 13. So that's all we have. So now we are open for questions. So if you have any, we can take it now. So I see a lot of questions coming in the chat, and I see like Puneet has like responded to most of them. But if you have any questions to ask, right, you can like ask it now. So I see one question about like how much time it will take for compute upgrade. It basically depends on like how much time, how much bandwidth we have, because during the leap we will be like downloading all the packages, and during the upgrade we will be like uh, downloading all the containers and all that thing. Okay, so it mostly depends on that. But in an ideal situation, if you are using Satellite or some local repository, I think it should be quick. it should not take more than like 60 to 90 minutes or so. I hope that answers your query. I see one more questions about like upgrade to 16.2. Uh, I think like once 16.2 is like publicly available and is like stable, I think the framework upgrade will directly go to 16.2. Uh, I'm not yet sure, but I think that is the uh, best way it is going to move ahead. Okay, so you will be like directly jumping from 13 to 16.2 rather than going on 16.1. But I think it is we should still wait for the documentation how it is gonna happen. Okay, still not sure about that. Um, so Salman wants to know like, does OpenStack 16 support SRIV interface bonding on PF level? I think no. It is basically not possible to do it because like we are like so in SRIV we usually pass through the PF. Okay, so I'm not sure like if we do bonding how it is going to work. But if you are but you can perform bonding inside the VM, okay, where you attach the virtual interfaces from two different PFs and then you perform a bond. Okay. Uh, Otherwise, there is one more new technology that is like OVS offload. There we can perform that, but for offload we required a very specific set of NICs. So Prashant, for controller upgrade, right? I would still like it based on like as I said, right? It very much depend on like how much bandwidth we have to like pull the latest containers and image like packages. But in idle situation, I think 90 minutes should be enough. Okay. And for storage, storage will be like the same. Since we have like less services on the storage nodes, it should be pretty quick. But still, it all depend on like the bandwidth, how we have it, right?